Welcome back to another episode of the RAG Report podcast, my daily bulletin show where I bring you owners, advisors, suppliers to the global recruitment industry who are prepared to give their take, experiences and advice to us all to help us get through this difficult COVID-19 period. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Barry Cullen. Barry is the founder of Introprotect, effectively a business that are designed to help recruiters get paid. And now more than ever, the people are struggling with this sort of stuff. Barry has taken on and lent into the nickname of Backdoor Barry because he helps recruiters when clients take backdoor routes to getting candidates through. And he's got plenty of advice, and I know he's dealing with a lot of recruitment agencies right now. So anything he's saying one-on-one, we want to start releasing to the masses. So Barry, thanks for taking the time.
Really, no problem at all. Thanks for having me on.
No, great stuff. So, look, I'm going to start like I do every episode of the minute and ask a simple question of what the hell is life like for you right now? Paint us the picture for the listeners. What's going on?
Well, I'm working from my bedroom, which is nice, a bit, which is a bit of a change. You know, I used to work in a 1,400 square foot office, buzzing with people around me, and instead now the only interruptions and noise I get are when a 6-year-old or a 3-year-old come running in here. Asking me if I finished my phone call yet. So in practical terms, that's the biggest difference. In commercial terms, like most of our clients, putting up with the challenges and dealing with the challenges of working from home and having a team or working remotely. We've always had some people work remotely. Ashley works out in New York. Eva, she's remote. So we've always had some people that work remotely, but now it's everybody. Yeah. You know, and that's a new challenge, right? For a lot of us. So learning how to get over that and how to actually, some of it makes life easier, makes life better.
It does.
The recover team now, we're having three catch-up calls a day. That's it. First thing, around about lunchtime and just before the end of the day. I don't think I would have that many catch-ups with the whole team every day of the week normally, and it's actually quite refreshing because it's not micromanaging at all. So you know how things work in our business. The team manage me because if there's a bottleneck in this business at any point in time, it's most likely me. Because our processes are really streamlined and the rest of the team will do what they do very quickly and very well. I'm dragged in so many directions that often issues sit with me for longer than they should do. So rather than me having a task list, the team all have their own task list, but half of their tasks are get Barry to do this task. So having those 3 catch-ups, I'm finding actually quite a useful thing.
I can empathise with that sometimes. I'm definitely quite similar.
Yeah.
I like it though. So look, let's go. Give us the overview. I mean, I feel like most people should know who you are because you're pretty well known in our space. But if they don't, give us like, why did you start the business?
I wasn't very good at recruitment. To be honest with you, I've done every job in recruitment apart from be top biller. So I was the photocopy boy at Huxley Associates. This is back when mail shots used to happen in the post rather than on email. So I used to literally photocopy CVs and stuff them in envelopes at Huxley Associates. Gave the wrong person or the right person, depending how you look at it, a bit of lip, and got chucked on the sales floor for having a bit of something about me. And then worked eventually as a C++ Java contract recruiter for a few years. But then ultimately, .com bubble burst. I became a year 2K testing recruiter overnight. And then 1st of January came around and the world didn't end. And I realized I wasn't very good at recruitment. So I went off to get what my mum calls a proper job. But ironically enough, a bit like the Goodfellas, I thought I got out, but they dragged me back in because all my mates are in recruitment. And as a result, all my clients were in recruitment. And that's effectively how it developed. Ultimately, this business, Introprotect, we set up almost 5 years ago now. And the main driver behind that was that I was really struck by something a mate of mine said, who's also a client. It was Thursday night. I was working on a case for him, and he was trying to get me to go to the pub. And I wasn't having it. So, mate, I've got to get this work done. If I don't get this work done, it's going to really damage your case. It's got to be done. You can just leave me be. Right, we can go for a beer another night. And he said, Barry, mate, come to the pub. I've got to pay you whether I win or lose. And that just struck a chord with me. I was like, hang on a second. You're right. There's so many lawyers out there who, no matter what happens, they're going to get paid. So if they've got the confidence in their abilities and the confidence in their advice, why are they not sharing any risk with clients?
Yeah.
And that for me was that moment, one of those little spark for me where I went, hang on a second, recruiters, 99% of us all work on a contingent basis. If we don't supply the goods, we don't get paid. Why is it not the same for lawyers?
So you took an hours-based model and put it into a contingent-based model.
Yeah, chucked it over into contingent, value-based proposition. Sometimes I send one email, I do the deal, and I get paid very handsomely. Other times I'm fighting the case for 15 months, and I get paid the same amount of money at the end of it. Because it's the same for recruiters, right? You get paid your percentage, whether it's a telephone interview and a deal, or whether they've got to go through 7 stages of interviewing. You get paid the same amount of money, and that's the whole point behind it. So that was what struck me, and that was, if there was ever a spark for the business, that was it.
So what sort of scenarios happen that you tend to get involved in?
Well, I would say prior to about a fortnight ago, I would say about 85% of our work was either outright backdoor hires, multi-agency disputes. So 2 agents both introducing the same candidate to a client who should get paid. Rebate disputes, a lot of rebate disputes. A few fee-level disputes. So recruiter thinks they should be paid this amount. Client thinks they should be paid something else. So, discrepancies over whether it's base versus REM, what should be included within a REM package for calculation purposes. Loads of arguments around, guaranteed sign-on bonuses and discretionary bonuses versus guaranteed bonuses, and what should fall within definitions of fees, effectively.
Yeah.
I would say about 10% of our work, maybe 15% of our work, historically was just debt work. So there was no dispute. The client just wasn't paying, or the client couldn't pay. And the world turned upside down.
So what's the last 2 weeks been like?
The first week we spotted a bit of an uptick. I'd say we probably had about twice as many inquiries in the first half of the first week, and then the second half of the second week it went up to about 5 times. And I'd say the second week of it, 10 times, 12 times the level of inquiries. Commercially, I mean that's good for us, right? It comes with challenges because, of course, if we're contingent and if the end client's going bust, and then we're still not getting paid, right?
Yeah.
So there's a big commercial challenge for us there. Also, we've had to flex our resourcing, had to take people off other parts of the business and move them over onto the recover part of the business to make sure we're actually able to service that demand. And so far, so good in that respect. But massive challenges. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's not good for us. It's not going to make me happy. It's not going to put a smile on my face because I'd rather be growing because we're doing what we do really well, just natural growth rather than because of an economic downturn.
Yeah.
But it's definitely good for us commercially.
So let's get into an example then. I mean, with no naming names, but give an example of something you're working on and how you're attacking it. So like a client comes to you with the current situation. Just paint the picture.
A good example of the debt specific one recently, and this is playing out quite a few times. The old credit control process, right? Everybody has it. Raise invoice, 14 days plus 1 later, your Xero or your Sage or your spreadsheet or whatever it is you're using says send friendly email. Friendly email says you've probably just overseen this invoice. Can you let us know when it's going to be paid, please? And the next one is, I think you probably missed my previous email, blah, blah, blah. And then the ratcheting up of pressure. That's changed massively in the last fortnight. Everyone's gone in. Clients are going on a save costs, renegotiate with suppliers, protect your position as much as you can. Recruiters on the other side are arguably on a bit of a cash grab because they don't know how long this is going to last. Massive downturn in their ongoing business. So they need to make sure they're monetizing all the deals that they've already done. In part because they've got to pay their own staff. In part because they've got to pay their own interims. So this isn't just a, demon recruiter yet again tries to screw over the world. They've got their own liabilities and their own exposures that they need to cover off, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people have started asking a slightly different question. So the old question was, are they good for it? When are we going to get it? What can we do to make sure they're paid? Whereas a lot of people are taking a slightly different view now, which is there's only two types of clients. There's the ones that you think are going to still be in business at the other end of this, and who you want to look after to make sure that you're still doing business together at that point in time. And then there's everybody else. And if they fall into the first category, we've been doing a lot more payment plans, so deferred payments or tiering payments over weeks or months than we ever have done historically. So there's a lot more of that happening. In fact, we did a bit of a freebie. We pushed out on LinkedIn, and we've given it to most of the main trade bodies and networking groups as well, which is like effectively a little how to do it yourself on payment plans, because there's a few legal issues that you can fall into if you try to do the right thing but do it the wrong way. It can end up biting you in the arse later on. So if anybody wants that, just get in touch with me and I'll happily ping it out. But just look me up on LinkedIn or speak to your trade bodies. Most of them should have it, and they should be able to push out to you as well.
Yeah, I think you can send it us as well. We'll put it out.
Yeah, cool. Cool. Yeah. Happily, mate.
Yeah. So okay. So first thing is work out which camp your clients for.
Yeah.
And how soon would you be looking at that? Like as soon as the days hit the point of.
Yes, we always talk about credit control. Most people think credit control starts on the invoice due date. We always talk about credit control actually starts when you're doing the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you're doing the deal, when you're at that leverage point where the client still needs you, the hiring manager still needs you, that's the point at which you should be getting the real contacts within accounts payable at the client, really understanding what the payment process is at the client side. Because the recruiter side, it's easy, right? Do deal, candidate starts, get starter confirmation email, raise invoice, wait for it to be paid. That's basically our process, right? But the client side might have POs, might have different payment processes. Invoices might have to go to specific email inboxes, or they might have to go up on portals. There's any number of different things. And what we always have to remember is, as a recruiter, our focus is getting the invoice paid. On the client side, you're dealing with individual human beings, and each of them may have a slightly different driver.
Yeah.
A hiring manager, for example, their driver is get the candidate started and then don't spend any more time dealing with the recruiter. That's effectively their main driver, right? So getting rid of the invoicing problem over to accounts payable as smoothly as possible means less hassle for the hiring manager. So finding out what they need to do to get it off their plate. And then once the invoice is actually raised, making sure you're making a quick call to accounts payable. We're a first-time supplier. Have we done this the right way? Have you got it? Is there anything else you need? Have you got all the paperwork you need? Have you got everything else? Great, brilliant. Email to confirm. And then, in the week before it's due to be paid, quick phone call again. First-time supplier, just want to make sure everything's okay. Are we on the pay run for this week? Is it all looking good? Do we need to do anything else? And just get all those confirmations as you go along. It's a little bit more heavy on time, but otherwise you end up in a scenario where 30 days later you've not been paid. Your credit control's finally picking up the phone to them, and they're saying, "Oh, yeah, sorry, no, you're not going to be on the pay run because you didn't do X, where X is send it to the right email or give us the PO or whatever." And the client doesn't consider your invoice to be properly submitted until you follow their process. So you then spend a week fixing that, and then they say, "Great, yeah, sure, you're now on 30-day payment terms."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you've knocked it out to 60, 70, 80 days just because you didn't put in that little bit of legwork at the beginning. And that's even more important now, particularly with so many people furloughed, accounts payables teams getting furloughed, or working from home, and their efficiency is dropping as a result. You need to just make sure you're giving people no excuse to leave you out.
So when you're looking at retrospective deals, let's say the deal was done 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And now it's like start date could have been a week or two before the pandemic. So
yeah,
you didn't really think too much about it. You sent it. What advice is there anything that people need to consider now to actually through the relevant processes, but it's still not being paid?
Well, there's a couple of things we're seeing quite a lot of, or we were in that first week or so, was pulled deals. So offer an acceptance, and then they pull it before they start. What's really key there is understanding what your own terms of business say. Because to the extent that there is an industry standard, the standard is offer acceptance, ring it in, start date, raise your invoice, and carry on from there. Yeah. But a lot of people, therefore, won't actually be able to invoice on their deals because they won't have a cancellation clause necessarily in their terms. Yeah. And the fee trigger isn't the acceptance, it's the start.
Yeah.
So if the client pulls it, even after it's accepted, but before they've started, a lot of recruiters find themselves in a difficult spot. So making sure you understand your own terms, because a lot of terms will have a couple of things. One will be a cancellation fee. So if you pull the offer, then the fee is still payable. Or the offer trigger not being the start date, but the acceptance of the job. Yeah, so that again means you can invoice a lot sooner. Yeah, so having aspects like that in there, and also rebates. I'm hoping most people's rebates are conditional, as well as on the usual things like payment on time and notifying us and what have you, but also the no redundancies aspect. Yeah, so they've got to be sacked for a reason, rather than just because there's no work anymore. And I'm not saying all recruiters will necessarily, in that scenario where their fee is technically due, I'm not saying they'll snap the money off. They might say to the client, look, you're in a tough spot. Let's do a payment. You still pay the fee, pay it over the next 6 months, right? There's your payment plan in play, right? And we'll treat it as a credit as well. So when we come out the other side of this and you need that replacement, because you didn't want to get rid of this person, you've already got the money sitting there on account, and then we'll backfill it for you at that point.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, recruiters need to keep the lights on and pay the bills, right? And pay their staff. This isn't money in a Lamborghini time. This is just keeping busy, keeping going, so that at the other side of this, everyone's in business, in the business of finding talent, right?
100%. In terms of, at what point should they think about engaging someone like you? Because a lot of this stuff, you can have that conversation, you can be sending you emails. Sometimes I hear a lot of stories, and I've been in it myself, where you're getting that radio silence and you're just getting nothing, right? So, last 2 weeks, clients have been preoccupied, but you're politely going about getting your invoice paid. I reckon there's a lot of people doing this, but the client is not playing ball. They're just treating you as a complete non-starter, not a priority. Like, we'll just carry on, and the placement might still be working remotely or whatever. Like, but you're still getting no feedback. At what point should they start to look at external advice, do you think?
Yeah, radio silence is there's a special place in hell for people that just completely ignore the issue. Yeah. I hate giving this "it depends" answer, but it depends. I was at an awards 6 months or so ago. Back when we used to be allowed to do things like that. Yeah. And I overheard the chief operating officer of one of our clients, who was at a table next to me, behind me, talking to the financial director of another potential client. Yeah, and what I heard, which I loved, he didn't know I was listening in, sneaky Baz. And all I heard him say was, the thing I love most about working with Barry and his team is that we can just give him the debt and forget about it. And it saves so much time for us to still do more business.
Yeah.
So there's there's a number of our clients out there who see the amount of management time they have to spend recovering fees as being such a slowdown of doing more business that they actually give it to us a hell of a lot earlier. Yeah. But then we have other clients at the other end who are saying, well, actually, the money we pay to you is money we must save for ourselves, and therefore we'll keep hold of this till the bitter end and only give it to you when we have no choice.
Do you charge like 20% as well, or how do you?
It's a cut. It's a cut of the outcome. Yeah, so we charge a percentage of the net outcome, so no money up front, and we just take a percentage at the end, and that percentage depends on the strength of the case, effectively. Yeah, right. So the stronger the case, the lower the percentage. The higher the case, the higher the percentage.
Yeah, more work you got to do, right? Harder to justify it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so where do recruiters need to be careful? Where can they get themselves or land themselves into a bit of an issue if they're chasing this money and they're getting aggressive and they're losing their heads a bit? Is there something that you're seeing that people can put themselves into a difficult situation?
Yeah. We had one last week. Yeah, we had one last week where recruiter aggression levels can escalate very quickly, and often too quickly.
Yeah.
So we had an example last week where recruiter found out about backdoor, didn't pick up the phone to client, didn't pick up the phone to candidate, just sent an email with an invoice. The subject line was illegal hire, and the opening gambit was, you've robbed us. Here's our invoice. If you don't pay it, we're going to sue you. And like, yeah, there were ways and means of going about these things, right? And all you're doing in that scenario is giving yourself a very entrenched client, because even if they agree with you that you owed the money, the use of words like illegal is really strong, right? And it's going to make them think, well, I must defend myself because this was an oversight, or this was a mistake, or we didn't realize we owed money, rather than it being illegal as such, you know? So we recommend steady but regular increasing of pressure. So if you're a one-person agency, this is more difficult. But if there's a few of you and the normal contact is consultant to hiring manager, then the opening gambit should be at consultant level. You don't need to whack it straight up to director.
Yeah.
Open the conversation at consultant level. And if it doesn't work at that point, then you can suggest at their side that they raise it up, and you raise it up to, say, team leader or manager. And keep it on that friendly basis initially, even if you're working with us in the background, because we do this quite a lot, where we'll whisper in the ear of the consultant or the manager or the director and say, right, a bit like training a consultant, right? In your next call, say this. In your next call, say that. Or here's an email for you. Copy, paste it, send it to the client, so it doesn't even look like there's a lawyer involved. Because that slow, steady, not slow necessarily, but that steady escalation normally results in a quicker, better outcome. And if you want to work with a client again, you've still got the relationship with the client. Whereas, unfortunately, particularly when times are tough and people are under a lot of financial pressure, they have a habit of going, from zero to nuclear in one jump, and that just brings more work our way rather than resolving these things yourselves.
Yeah. When have you seen it that recruiters don't win the case, whether you're involved or not? When are they thinking they're in the right and they're actually not? Like they've breached something, or they were just in the wrong with what they're saying?
Yeah. So a number of scenarios. One, when they're operating under RPO or MSP terms, because if you're operating with a bigger end client through an RPO or an MSP, the terms you've signed up to are normally so strong that it actually makes it more difficult to get a fee than not. Yeah. So you could be signing up to 3 months long candidate ownership periods, vacancy specific fee triggers, but where vacancy specific literally means, it could be exactly the same job for exactly the same hiring manager, but it's got a different reference on the portal.
Therefore, you're not relevant. Yeah.
Therefore, you're not, that sort of thing. We see a lot of typically more junior consultants, unfortunate use of language in their communications. And I don't mean language in the 4-letter way. I mean language in how they talk about agreements. So an example would be recruiter sends CV with terms attached to hiring manager. Hiring manager comes back and says, great, would definitely like to speak to this person. Can you set up a telephone interview? Okay? Now, 99 times out of 100, that means the contract has been agreed, right? Deemed acceptance provisions, you've got our terms, you've now interviewed our candidate, the deal is done, right? You have agreed our terms of business. If you hire the person, our fee tricker kicks in. Yeah? So, but then what you often see is consultant then sets up the interview and then sends an email to say, who do I need to agree terms with? Because that, from a consultant and a business level, is a fairly normal thing to do, right? Mm. But from a lawyer's perspective, that is effectively just producing evidence to show that the parties, the recruiter and the end client, didn't think a deal had been formed by that point. They thought they were still negotiating. And if then the negotiations don't conclude, there's then a good argument to say the recruiter's terms of business don't apply, which then puts us in a more, we'll still win them, but it puts in a more difficult position in relation to proving that a contract existed or proving that a fee should be owed. That sort of thing comes up a lot. Not having terms of business that don't have a jurisdiction clause in them, so it doesn't say which countries' courts apply and which countries' laws apply and which countries' courts have jurisdiction. No, that's a nightmare, because if you're doing deals in, wherever, let's say you're doing a deal in Hong Kong, but you're based in London, and the job is in Singapore and the candidate's from America, yeah, how do you argue which court and which country should have jurisdiction over that? It becomes much more difficult to argue. So always making sure that's in terms is a massive thing for us.
Right. Yeah, that's a big one. Is
Yeah.
there any type of case you hear and you just go, nah, not touching it?
Yeah, there's quite a lot of work we turn away.
What's the commonality there?
Massively low fees, where recruiters haven't even sent terms, where a recruiter might have just mail shot the CV out to 20,000 hiring managers and then not bother doing any follow-up. And 11 months later, the person happens to take a job there.
Yeah.
And it's clear on the evidence that we have a little interrupter here. Hang on one second. Hello, darling boy. Daddy's just on a call. Can I come back to you afterwards? Yeah, cheers. In those sorts of scenarios where they're basically just trying it on, right?
Yeah.
You've got to add some value to this process to expect to get paid out of it.
No doubt at all. What's the weirdest request you've ever had? What's like the most random job you've ever been asked to do?
It's still a work thing.
Yeah. Let's stay in the recruitment world. But that's still weird in general. But a recruiter has asked you to do something legally related. What's the weirdest request you've had? And whether you
I'll give you the best anecdote of a case we had.
Okay.
Because I quite enjoy this case. UK-based recruiter does C-level finance placements. The fee is somewhere between 150 and 300 grand a placement.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the sort of level we're talking about.
Yeah.
This is one of those one-person agencies where they do 2, 3, 4 deals a year. And they're doing very well for themselves.
Yeah.
This particular chap, he had been running a process for a hedge fund manager for, I think it's about 6 months. About 6 months he'd been running this process. They got a phone call from a hiring manager who happened to be their COO, who said, "Good news, we're going to hire your guy, but bad news, we're not doing it through you." And recruiter's jaw sort of hits the floor. This is like the best part of $300,000 fee going begging.
It's been on a retainer though.
Sorry?
It must have been a retained assignment, no?
Pure contingent. Pure contingent on this particular job. And
Mm.
anyway, the explanation came about that they weren't doing it. This is how shameless it was. We're not doing it through you because we're a US hedge fund with this many billion under management, and you're a one-man band recruiter who operates from his spare bedroom in his flat in Clapham. You can't afford to sue us.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's that sort of blatant. Anyway, I enjoy the case the most because we get the phone call. I said to client right at the start, look, this isn't they're not going to pay. This is an old school American renegotiation. They've realized how much they're going to have to pay. They want to scare you a little to try and get the number down. Yeah, and that's what this really comes down to. So anyway, a little bit back and forth with us in the background, a little bit back and forth to get a fee negotiated. I think they came up to north of £100,000. At which point my guys say, look, I want to tap out. When I wasn't being offered anything, I wanted the almost $300,000, but now I'm being offered £100,000. That's a lot of money to gamble for the uplift. Yeah, so I want to tap out. And I said, okay, fine, I'm on board with that. But one thing, he said, what is it? I said, just do me one deal. This guy hasn't started yet, so just get in there, no rebates. Right? This guy starts, they pay the money. Yeah, if he drops, it's their problem. Yeah, because you're not taking a 2/3 discount and then putting it on the line with a rebate. So we agreed. And the guy went to work on Monday, came back on Tuesday, went on Wednesday, and didn't come back after lunch.
Wow.
So yeah, 2.5 day placement, £100,000.
Good work.
I like that story.
I like that story.
Yeah.
Well, Barry, look, I mean, look, you're well known enough, but I reckon there's a lot of people who are listening to this and don't know you and would love to connect and potentially have requests. Do you have capacity for people to reach out? Are you open to that right now?
Yeah, we definitely do. As I say, we've been flexing resource.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, guys, I'm going to tag Barry in everything that we've done today, and I'll get that information as well, the how-to guide.
Yeah, sure.
Barry, thank you so much, mate. And even if people just want to ask a few questions of advice, you're open to that, yeah?
100%. You know, I have a very much approach of if I can help you guys fix it yourselves, then that's a good result for us.
Yeah, well, that's you're on the same wave with me that you're trying to fight for this industry right now, and that massively, I think everyone massively appreciates your work, mate. So thank you so much.
No worries, pal.
And guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that was relevant. It was short and sweet, but this is a time where we need to stick together. We need to work hard. We need to get paid, and we need to focus on surviving and coming through this as a unit. If you enjoyed this episode, like Barry, I'm not charging a fee to listen, but I am charging one thing and my fee is for you to share this. So actually send it out to somebody else in the sector, a friend, a colleague, a boss, even a competitor, someone who you think would benefit from Barry's insights, so that we can reach more people. And that's what it's all about. In the meantime, you must stay safe, follow the rules, and I'll be back again tomorrow with more information from another person around the sector. Stay safe. See you soon.